Yo, this is Terrence Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nika Montfort, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and you're tuned into the snobOS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. So I think we have climbed the hill, maybe got over the hurdle a little bit. Past couple weeks,
Right.
weeks, we've been slumming it, looking kind of janky. But I think
On
after
the struggle bus.
Right. So after trying out some different software, looking at some fuzzy video, not even showing some video some weeks, we are finally looking a whole lot better going live via video. So we want to thank all those who are actually watching the live taping. If you want to participate in the live taping, definitely you can be a Patreon. That's how we are getting users access to the live taping. In addition to the live taping, you get access to the live pre-show, to where we do some banter, catching up, things of that nature that you don't get on the regular podcast or the regular YouTube video. In addition to that, you get access to our Discord chat, where we talk all things tech and just all things general outside of the actual podcast. So if you want to catch up with what we're doing throughout the week, if you want to suggest some articles or things you want us to discuss on the show, we kind of do all that throughout the Discord. So all that for a little as $5 a month. If you want to take advantage of that, definitely hit us up at patreon.com/snobOScast and support the show. So other than that, I think we're going to move right into the show. So I think the biggest thing that came out of Apple as of last week, I only had two stories that I found, but probably the most, I'd say, talked about one was the fact that Apple has announced a 4-to-1 stock split. Now, I claim to be a newbie stock guy, but I still kind of don't completely understand this whole 4-to-1 stock split. So I did a little bit of research, and basically, and again, if anybody's listening or anybody's watching and I'm wrong, tell me otherwise. But the way I understand it is, Apple has announced that if you own, I'll use myself for example, if I own one share of Apple stock at $100, they're going to do a 4-to-1 split. So now I own 4 shares of the
For
stock.
shares.
Yeah, 4 shares of the stock, but it's going to be lower value. So let's just say for numbers sake, I own one share at $100. They split it 4 ways. Now I own 4 shares at $25. Now you may say, okay, well, shouldn't they give me 4 shares at $100 a piece? Well, no. But if Apple stocks climb back up, now if it goes back up to $100, now you have 4 shares. Make sure
Four
I get
shares
in the
of
camera.
$100.
4 shares of $100. So that's basically the breakdown. Give you a little bit more information. Shares will split starting August 31st. So I don't know when is the cutoff date for buying the shares. Can you own the shares up until August 31st when it splits, or do you have to have already previously owned the shares? I don't know all that information, but I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to take a look at it. I'll just read some of the headlines. A new Bloomberg report says that traders are betting on Apple's share price to rise even higher following its stock split announcement last week. Apple announced a 4-to-1 stock split, like I mentioned, for investors, with additional shares being received on August 24th from the report. Let's see. As happened in previous years, Apple has done this. The move is stirring more bets on the companies from Bloomberg. So basically what that means is, again, like I said, it's going to split stock 4 ways. So for every one stock you own, you'll now own 4. And then if the stock goes back up, you tend to make more money. So again, I'm not a stock guy. Maybe you can shed some light on, does that make sense to you? Did I get everything right? Or
That's what I gathered, is that it'll essentially split it into 4. And like you said, the value is lower, but based on this article, they're expecting the stock price to go up. So even if it's, using your $100 example, even if now it's at $25 a share, if the stock goes back up, you will now have 4 shares at the newer value. So I think that sounds right to me based on what I'm reading. That's what it seems. Now the question is, like you said, can you like buy more stock now? And maybe that's what they're hoping that people do is they'll load up on stocks and load up on shares. And so when it does hit, of course, that benefits them. So I don't
Right.
know.
Right. So yes, to answer your question, yes, the stock has already gone up. Like I played around with the stock for one day last week, and I should have stayed because it was at when I found out about it. I'll give you real world examples. When I found out about it and played with the stock a little bit, it was at $378, right? And then I played around with it, let it climb to about $412 a share, and then I sold mine. I'm like, I made a little bit of money. I'm out the game, right? But after that, it has risen to, and I'm gonna get on my phone right now and find the stock.
Let's
Right,
see what the stock price is.
right now, Apple stock is. Let me look this up real quick. It is at
455 and some change.
$455. So, in real world
And it's
example,
gone up like $15. Yeah.
exactly. So when I invested it after I heard about all this, actually I invested before they did the earnings. So the morning of their earnings call last week, I invested and bought a couple shares at a 437. Now it's up to what'd you say 455? That's over $100 in just a week. And I kicked myself because I got in and got out after I made a little bit of money. But I guess that's the name of the game with the stocks. It's like you get in, get out,
Yeah.
and be happy with what you made. Don't kick yourself because that's how people lose all their money. But if you are a stock
Right.
person in the stock market, into trading, definitely you might want to take a good look at Apple in the next couple of weeks because, again, after August 31st, what is that? After that, then you may make a little bit of money. So definitely check that out. All right, let's see. Next up, like I said, the only other big story from
I did
Apple.
find another one that I added
Oh, okay.
that I did.
Oh, you did?
It just
Okay.
came out right before the show started.
Okay, I'll let you jump in and do that one, and I'll go back to
Oh, I
my
put it
other
at
one.
the end.
Okay.
Oh, you want to go?
Oh, you put it
I
at
just
the
put it
end.
at. I put it
Okay,
last. Yeah.
got you. All right, so the story that I had, in addition to the stock one, it was iPhone 12 release date, prices, picks, and specs, and all that good stuff. So the rumor mill is still strong for Apple, and the iPhone 12 looks like they've got a release date for Apple and got some prices and the actual models. So the way it breaks down is the iPhone 12 normally comes out, is announced and released in September. Well, this year it's not going to be released until October. And then the rumors are all of the device models, which there are going to be 4 of them if this leak proves to be true, they may stagger them. So maybe 1 month or a couple weeks, one or two versions will come out, and then maybe a couple weeks later another version, then a couple of weeks later another version will come out. So but according to this leak, there's going to be 4 models. There's going to be a 5.4 inch iPhone 12. That's going to be the regular iPhone 12, and the price for that, according to this news story, is $699. So $700 for the
Isn't
basic.
bad at all.
Right, which is for the entry level iPhone 12. There's going to be 2 6.1 inch models of the iPhone 12. One is going to be the iPhone 12 Max, which is going to have a little bit better internals, a little bit better screen. That one's going to start at $799, and then an iPhone 12 Pro, which is going to have even better camera and even longer battery life and even more hard storage space. That's going to start at $1049. And then the last model is the 6.7 inch, which is the bigger phablet one. The iPhone 12 Pro Max is going to start at $1149. Of course, all those prices go up if you add more hard drive storage space. The 6.1 and the 6.7 inch are going to have, I think, 6 gigs of RAM, which Apple normally doesn't promote. But the fact that they're promoting it means that it's a big deal now. Normally, Apple, they really don't tell you how much RAM is in it. You just know it's fast, right? So now they're actually differentiating between the different versions as it relates to specs like RAM, because of course all the journalists, all the bloggers, they love all the specs on the iPhone. So Apple, this is kind of giving them what they want. So again, like I mentioned, first model is going to be released in October, which will probably be the regular base model 5.4 inch iPhone 12 will release in October, and then they'll be staggered after that. So I guess I want to ask you, are you Are you going to upgrade? Are you going to hold on to yours? What are you looking like?
I'm I'm gonna upgrade because I still have the iPhone 10. I
Okay.
didn't go for the 11 because I was waiting for the 5G.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the specs. I'll probably go with the Pro. I
Mm-hmm.
think the phablet one is just way too big. I don't it that's just way too much. So I'll probably go based on this. I'll probably do the Pro. I'm probably at 256.
Oh, okay. All right. So I have the iPhone 10s Max right now, and I think I have the 256 gig version. So looking at
Mhm.
these, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to go with. I think I may go with the a smaller form factor. I may not go with the biggest one because
Mhm.
it's all right, but I mean, if I'm being honest with myself, it is kind of big, right? And I already have an
Yeah.
iPad Pro, I already have a MacBook, so I really don't need this big screen. So I may go smaller and go with the 6.1 inch iPhone 12 Pro, and get that one tried out, and then kick myself for not getting a big one later.
I already know that the 6.7 is way too big for me. So the Pro, I think the Pro will do. I think the Pro is gonna work.
Right, but and I may change my mind because even though 6.7 sounds like a big phone, it may just be you get more screen real estate. So my guess is maybe the 6.7 inch will be the same size as my current phone, just more screen,
Mhm.
which gives it the bigger resolution, diagonal size. So if that's the case, then I may stick with the bigger one. But if I'm not getting any more screen real estate, just getting a bigger phone, I may drop down a size and get smaller form factor. See how I like that. So,
Right,
state
because they're not really showing if it's going to be full edge to edge
right,
with the
right,
6.7. So I guess once they make the announcement, you can kind of make the decision. But I'm assuming that it's probably going to be edge to edge. And if you look at the body style, it's reminiscent of the iPhone 5. So
right.
it's going back to that more square,
Yep.
thicker, bevel type of edge and frame than what we currently have with
Yeah. Yep.
the 10s and the 10s Max and the so
Yep.
so
Yep. So
yeah.
think of the iPhone 5S. I think was the last version
Yeah.
that had that box look, which in hindsight looked pretty good. So we'll see how that looks
Yeah.
updated for these versions that just came out. So, all right, that's
And
it.
I think
Go ahead.
Apple probably, and I think Apple, I was just going to say, I think Apple probably did that on purpose because most of their competitors are continuing with the current frame. And I think they probably wanted to differentiate themselves a little bit and go back to a previous version, because I think the new Samsung just came out, was it yesterday or today? And I think, it's a stark comparison from the body style from what we're seeing the rumors are for the iPhone 12, as it compares to the Samsung Note. So I think it'll definitely I think it's separating itself so it won't look so much like some of the other phones that are out there.
Right, right. All right, all right. So you said you added a third one. I see this public beta of macOS Big Sur.
Yes.
It,
Right. So they just released this today. Wait, isn't today the 6th? Yeah, it just came out today because I know when I was coming downstairs to get ready to record, I saw the Google alert pop up and I was like, oh. So Apple is dropping the public beta of the latest OS, the latest Mac OS Big Sur. We talked about it before. I think earlier this year when we went through some of the OS updates. So essentially, with any beta, you know, it's a beta, so it's probably still has some bugs and some kinks to work out. But if you're interested in, trying taking it out for a spin, it is going to be available. And again, similar to what the article that we're reading from The Verge says, it's not necessarily ideal that you install it on your everyday machine. You may want to put it on another one just to be safe. Or if you do use it on your primary machine, definitely back up your data because they can't be held responsible for any type of bugs or glitches or completely brick your system with the new beta. But it's definitely coming out and it's going to be available It seems like when we went through this before, we kind of talked about some of the changes and how they're trying to make the interface seamless across different versions, meaning iOS, iPadOS, macOS,
Right.
to make it a bit more seamless across the board. So whichever device you're looking at, it's the same across all of the devices. So just putting it out there that the beta is coming. Again, it will only be compatible on certain devices. MacBook 2015 and later, MacBook Air 2013 and later, MacBook Pro 2013 and later, Mini 2014, iMac 2014, iMac Pro 2017, and Mac Pro 2013. So if you have any of those devices, then you should be good to go to upgrade once the final version is released, and if you want to try the beta as well.
All right. Yeah. So I have the iOS 14 public beta on my daily driver iPhone. Of course, I did an archive backup. Actually, I'll get into the hookup on how to do that a little bit later. Definitely, you want to do the same thing with your MacBook if you're going to do it. I may try it. Normally, I didn't do it on my iPad because shout out to Allison Sheridan of the No Silicast podcast. She put out a picture. She put out a picture of her iPad not rotating back to portrait mode after landscape mode. So when you turn it around, the screen doesn't flip. So I'm assuming they changed that. But when I saw that picture, I didn't upgrade my iPad to the public beta. But I may upgrade to the Big Sur public beta, specifically because I was thumbing through the story and it says, and I'll just read it. There's a bunch more packed into Big Sur that I didn't touch on here. This is the author, such as improvement to maps, a suite of new system sounds, and the return of Mac's iconic startup chime. So for those who don't know, when you start up a Mac, you get that boom, that startup chime sound. Well, that went away with some of the newer Macs. I have a newer MacBook Pro. I don't get the chime at all. So I may upgrade to the public beta just to get the chime back. Definitely, I'm going to make a backup of my computer before you actually do the upgrade. So if something goes wrong, I can downgrade back to the Catalina without losing any data. But I may play around with it and try that. Some of the things just I saw, just going through some of the images in this article, like when you send somebody a happy birthday message in iOS, you can get some options as to animate the screen.
You get the confetti.
Right,
yeah.
you can do that on messages on Big Sur. Same thing with Control Center. When you swipe down or up, depending on which phone you have, to see the Control Center on your phone, you can do the same thing in Big Sur and get that similar look. So that goes back to what you were saying about unifying the interface amongst all of the devices. So Big Sur is kind of like the best one to actually show that, because a lot of the features are coming into Mac that we are take for granted probably in iOS and iPadOS. So I'm definitely interested into that.
Yeah, and I have a couple different Macs, so I may put it on one of them that I don't use really every day, just to kind of take a test drive and see how it works. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but the public beta is out there, so you can get it now.
Yeah, I may try that out. All right. So I think that is it for the lowdown. Let's move into second string, where we all talk all things tech. So it looks like Microsoft has stepped up to the plate, and I don't know if they're partnering with the United States government. I don't know if they're influenced any sort of way by.
Is that even legal?
I don't know. But anyway, the U.S., for those who don't know, the president has decided he threatened to ban TikTok from the United States, meaning the super popular, I don't have an account, but it's super popular social media site that is based in the United States, but the company, it originates from China. So according to the president, that has some sort of security issues. So they threatened to ban it, and I guess Microsoft decided they wanted to step up and I don't know, like I said, partner. I don't know what they're doing with the United States.
But they're buying a portion of it,
Right.
so they're not even getting the whole thing. So
So,
that's why I'm just so confused with this whole thing. But I'll let you, maybe it's more info in there.
no. So the story that we're reading is not going to be as simple as just buying TikTok, right? Because TikTok is global a global phenomenon, for lack of a better term, with users all over the globe. And since the United States is the only country that is going to ban it, Microsoft can't buy the whole thing. They're going to have to buy, like you said, regions. They're going to buy, I think the story said, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand are the only portions of the TikTok that the United States is going to buy. And specifically, the problem that's going to have is they can't buy everything. So all the IP, all of the resources, all the employees, all of the servers, all the infrastructure, you can't just gobble that all up. You got to section it off, and then you have to build your own. Microsoft is potentially, if they go through with this, they're going to have to build their own infrastructure. They're going to have to stand up their own servers. They're going to have to stand up their own networking. They have to stand up all that, which typically is what you don't do when you buy a company. Normally, you just buy all that, let them run it.
Right.
You put your name on the top, and you take some of the profits. So it's kind of untypical of what companies, big companies like Microsoft, Apple, Google, when they buy other companies, they're actually going to buy the data and have to figure out how to support that, which again, that's going to be a whole thing. And it's going to be interesting to see if Microsoft goes through with it. If Microsoft doesn't do it, maybe I saw some rumors, maybe Apple will do it, but may do it rather. But again, that's just the whole thing. It's just like, this is not your typical big tech swallowing up a smaller tech company. This is going to be a little bit more muddy, and the fact that the United States is involved, and specifically our president is involved.
And he's already said that he should get that the government should get a portion of the sale.
Right. That's not. I don't.
That's not how any of this works.
Right. Right.
And honestly, so I'm just gonna say.
Okay.
I think all of this is just a farce. It's
Okay.
just a way to take the heat off of this guy and all the crap that he's doing and is involved in.
Okay.
I think it's just a front to say, look, I'm protecting America from China, because he's already calling, using racist terms for virus, calling it China virus. So I think this is just another, cog in the wheel of him saying, see, China's big and bad and we don't like them and they're against us, they hate us, they're trying to kill us. I just think this is just another farce and propaganda for him to take the heat off of himself and the stuff that he's doing. And I don't know why Microsoft has involved themselves in this mess, because that's what it is. You can't peel off sections of a app based on region. I guess you technically, in theory, could, but in practicality, it makes no sense. So you're meaning to tell me you're going to try and take these 4 pieces, these 4 regions out of the whole world, and do your own thing. How does that compare? Are you going to have like a TikTok Microsoft and a TikTok everybody else?
Right.
Is it still going to be the same interface? Or are you still going to have access to all of the proprietary data, the patents? Are you buying that? I don't see how you can buy that if there are other regions. If the parent company owns it, it just makes no sense.
Right.
It's not feasible, and it's just, to me, again, is election time is coming up, and he's trying to. Nothing he's done has been successful.
Right.
So he's trying to make it seem like he's doing something,
right.
And it's just a freaking farce.
Right.
And honestly, Instagram is trying to encroach on the TikTok, scene, because they just came out with Reels, which is essentially TikTok baked into Instagram.
Right.
So it may be pointless. So again, I think it's just him trying to flex his little muscle. I don't know why he's getting involved in private business. I think there's some kind of legal something that says that the president can't do this
Right.
because
It's
he's
got to be.
lobbying. Because it's the same thing with the whole Goya. Him and his daughter, he's sitting at the Resolute desk in the freaking Oval Office shilling beans,
Right.
as Chris Como said.
Hmm.
You know, you're you can't do that, but they're letting him get away with this because they're racist. They're all racist. If he's willing to put through my racist agenda, then I'm just gonna sign up for whatever the hell he's doing.
Right.
And it's just absurd. It's completely absurd, and I'm so freaking over it. I can't even say how over I am of this whole thing.
Right.
That's what I
So there is some sort of, there is a small common, not common sense. There is something to be made about data, right? Because we, on this show, we regularly talk about, data is currency. We talked about a past, the Face app that, again, another app that originates in a foreign country that a lot of American users are contributing data to, that could possibly be used in the future for whatever reason. We already talked about Cambridge Analytica and Russia and Facebook and all that stuff. So there is something to the idea of a widely popular data source that a lot of Americans are contributing data to, that is not owned by an American company. I can see there is a cause for concern there. Now, outside of that, all this other stuff, like you mentioned, is just Trump trying to look good, trying to say he's done something, which he calls it, to piggyback on what you said, he calls it the China virus, which is discriminatory to say the least. And then,
racist.
and then he wants to turn around and say, okay, it's a China virus, but I want you to sell us your company. If I was China and say, oh, so it's the China virus, huh? You're blaming this whole virus thing on us. How about I not sell my company off, or regions of my company off? And two, I'm going to actually use the data to influence American politics, or influence American whatever the case may be, or sell your data to some whatever the case may be. It's like, I don't understand how the president's logic is. I would think if you are trying to do a good faith thing and say, hey, this data, we want to make sure stays in American hands. If you're really about that, he would actually be making more in an effort, and he wouldn't be saying stuff like, well, okay, well, the United States should take a cut from this sale if it goes through. That's not good faith. That's just you trying to capitalize. And again, number two, that's like you said, you're trying to look good for the election season, because everything you've done up until now has not looked good on your resume for these past 4 years. So again,
Right.
there's something to be said for it, but not coming from him, not coming from this administration.
And honestly, China is better than me, because I would be hella petty and say, "Oh, so it's the China virus. So run me my money that you owe me real quick.
Right. Or let
How
me,
about you just send me a direct deposit of the trillions of dollars that you owe me? Just slide my money on over and let me have that."
right.
And so as we were talking, I was reading through the article more, and in the article, before I even got to it, it said, in essence, TikTok will be split into two apps, similar to what I said, one for the parent company and one for Microsoft. But another thing that just really hit me is that his issue with TikTok is vanity, because when they did that that rally in Tulsa,
Right.
and he just kept bragging about millions and millions of people, and it was all these K-pop and
People on
TikTok people,
yeah,
kids
who bought all the tickets.
buying, who got all the tickets, and making it seem like, a million people were coming.
Right.
And it was these kids who were trolling him.
Right.
And I think that's honestly where all of this stems from. We have a so-called president who is so concerned about
his image.
himself, his image, and is so selfish. He's about to take down this company and cause all this strife because some teenagers trolled him. Like,
Right.
bruh,
And and
that's what it boils down to. He was trolled
and
by some teenagers, and now he's mad.
right. And if you want to take the conspiracy theory even further, one of the most popular people to come out of TikTok, Sarah Cooper, she used TikTok to do those impersonations of Trump,
And
and
they
that's
are
how she
hilarious.
became famous, because she started that on TikTok. So I wouldn't put it past them. I would hate for that to be the case, but I wouldn't put it past them.
But you know what's true? He is petty boots. Again, he's a toddler.
Yeah.
He's a toddler. So, that's what it all, boils down to. I don't know, kind of off topic. I don't know if you saw the HBO interview that he did.
Yeah. Well, I saw bits and pieces of it, as much as
I
I
saw
could
bits.
stomach.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't handle too much of it. I just saw like bits and pieces of it. And the thing that it goes to his ego is they asked him about John Lewis, and he was pissed that John Lewis didn't come to any of his State of the Unions, didn't come to his inauguration, so that's why he didn't go to his funeral. And then to cap it all off, he's like, "Well, I've done more for Black people than anybody."
Where does he get that from? Just because the employment numbers looked okay before the virus? But anyway, like you said,
But those were Obama's numbers. Those weren't his.
yeah.
And he got a couple Black people that, are licking his boots. So he's like, see, I got 5 Black people. That means all Black people like me.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
dude,
Yeah.
that is not how this works. But in his mind, I think he has some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some degradation of his
You think so?
facilities and capabilities. In addition to him just being racist,
Right.
and egomaniac,
Right.
I think he is what, 74. So I think he is, on a cognitive. That's the word I'm looking for. Cognitive. He is on a cognitive decline.
Wow.
And
Okay.
factor that in with his egomania, his narcissism, and his racism. I mean, it's a freaking perfect storm of BS.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. Well,
Rant over.
yeah, right. Rant
For now.
over. But this is crazy. But again, on a positive note, Microsoft is trying to do something to get in the social media game. I don't know if they've ever tried. Well, they bought LinkedIn, which again, who uses LinkedIn really? I know professionals
Apparently
do.
the girls use it.
Say
I
what?
didn't realize it. I said apparently that people use it.
They do.
And
They
it's
do.
like people use it like Facebook.
Do
and
they?
I'm like, really?
Well, I
I'm
saw.
like, who?
Well, I saw some people that I know use Facebook that, of course, men are sliding in people's DMs, in the traditional sense, instead of, doing some actual professional networking. They're actually like, hey, beautiful, what you doing, type messages in
It's the
LinkedIn.
worst.
So all that to say, Microsoft is trying to do something to get in the social media game. TikTok is the flavor of the month as it relates to social media. Again, like you mentioned, we didn't put it in the show notes, but Instagram just came out with their version, like you mentioned, that could pull people from Snapchat who are concerned about where Snapchat go. I'm not Snapchat. I'm sorry. I said Snapchat. TikTok. Sorry. Where TikTok is going as it relates to all this, because like I said, there are some people who have been discovered on TikTok. So, if they're concerned about, hey, well, if the president's going to get involved and Microsoft's going to get involved, I mean, is TikTok going to go away? So a lot of people could possibly move over to Instagram Reels, which I ain't gonna get on that either. I am social media'd out. I can't take another one.
I'm not about to shoot, no, because I've seen like some of the celebrities who've been using it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. You do the different angles, then you got to add music, then you have to add like effect.
Yeah.
Let me just snap this picture real quick and
Right.
load it. I'm really doing something if I add to my Insta stories, and like, because I normally only do that for like birthdays
Mhm.
or like things I really want to call out. Like one of my friends, she was the stage manager for Sam Jay's new comedy special on Netflix. So I had finished watching it. She told me that she was involved in it, and I watched it. And as the credits rolled, I was like, oh my god, I see her name. So I snapped a picture and I like do all the little stuff and put it on stories.
Mhm.
And I was like, that was a lot. And all I did was take a picture and just add a hashtag and an ad in there, and I was exhausted.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know I'm not doing no reels, and I do have a TikTok, but I only have a TikTok so that I can get my name,
Right.
so that I can have like my name across all of the platforms.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I have it. I've never been on TikTok. If I don't see the TikTok on Twitter, I'm not seeing it.
Right, right. And I can't even we can't even get this podcast video stream together. I can't do nothing else. I'm done. Right. So you can all this is good information, but you can miss me on the whole TikTok thing. So all right.
I don't have it. I don't have it in me.
All right. So moving on to the next story, LastPass. For those who are not familiar, password manager, definitely suggest anybody use some sort of password manager. I think Nika, you use LastPass as well. Now they've added a feature for paid users. If you're paying for LastPass, it will proactively tell you if your specific passwords have been compromised. So basically, the way it works is LastPass monitors the dark web. Actively checks around for any users, email addresses, any of the websites that they use, any of that information that data breach hackers use to pull that information off the web and then put it on the dark web. LastPass monitors the dark web. If it finds anything that looks like can be associated to you, like I said, like an email address, like a website that you frequently use, a username, a Twitter handle, whatever the case may be, they will alert you in their security dashboard. It will tell you which passwords are weak, which passwords have been reused, or otherwise at risk. The updated dashboard in LastPass takes the place of the security challenge, a tool that's also recommended which passwords you should change, including those that have been compromised as a report of them looking through the dark web. So basically, again, like I said, if you're a paid user of LastPass, you'll be able to get access to this tool that will keep you a little bit more protected. And again, in all of the data breaches, all the social engineering, all the hacks that we've become kind of like, I don't want to say numb, but kind of expect to happen. Using something like LastPass. There's some other ones out there, 1Password. My kids, now they're starting to get into school and doing this virtual learning and distance learning. I put all their passwords into Apple's iCloud, Apple Keychain. Yeah, because they're just doing passwords. They're not doing bank accounts. They're not doing checking accounts or anything like that. So all they do is passwords. So I put all that into their keychains versus them just putting it in a note or using the same password over and over and over again. So any of those things will help. Definitely, I recommend LastPass because they do a good job. Like I said, me and my wife share passwords amongst each other, to make it easiest for us. If something were to happen to me, she has access to all the passwords and vice versa. So definitely a password manager to definitely look at, LastPass specifically, because it now has this dark web, your passwords have been hacked tool.
And I have a LastPass story just as of Tuesday.
Okay.
So I go to log into something on my LastPass. LastPass has like a master password that gives you access to all of your other passwords. So I type in my LastPass master password and I'm looking around and all that kind of stuff. Then I go and do something else and I come back and it prompts me to enter it again. And I enter it and it says, we don't recognize that password. And I have another tab, I have LastPass open, so I see all of my things. Some kind of way, I don't know what happened, it forgot my master password. And I know that it was my correct master password because I was like, let me type it out
and then copy and paste it.
Make sure, and make sure I didn't fat finger anything, and it just did not work. I tried to recover it. It was like, no, girl, we're not letting you recover it. I tried to reset it. It was like, no, girl, we're not gonna let you recover it. So I ended up having to delete my entire account and create another one.
Oh, wow.
So all my passwords that I had saved in there were gone.
Oh, wow. Yep.
So it was horrible. And I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So then I was like, well, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it was compromised. Maybe something happened. I'm not sure what went down, but it caused me to completely have to start over.
Yep.
So what I did was I used my keychain
Uh-huh.
because I would, essentially store things in
Both.
keychain and in LastPass.
Right.
So, when it asks if you want to update your keychain or add a keychain, yes. Do you want to add or update LastPass? Yes. So I have it in both places.
Right.
So I started on, I think Tuesday, it was either Monday or Tuesday when it happened, like just going through one by one and like adding them back. I log in on Safari, and then it'll pull up LastPass. But what I noticed is I was reusing some passwords,
Mm-hmm.
and so I took that time to use because LastPass will do a password generator for you,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll include all the things, and you can set it how long you want it, or how short you want it, the different type of characters you want to include. And so I just spent most of the week going through and putting in generated passwords, whether I was kind of alternating. Sometimes I would use a LastPass generated password. Sometimes I would use the keychain suggested password,
Right.
just kind of mixing it up. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not quite done. I still have a couple of accounts to go through, but for the most part, it's done. And when I went to look at um, the rating that it gives you to make sure
Right.
that everything's okay, even with the, I don't know, I maybe have eight or so, nine or so that still need to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a percentage. I'm still at like 86%,
Wow.
secure. And nothing is on the dark web. So, that kind of gave me some peace of mind. But it had me kind of freaked out for a minute because I've been using the system for a long time and I've never had any issues. And I don't know what kind of fluke or anomaly that came in. And it just was like, we don't know you.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. That's one of the things about LastPass specifically, but all password generators probably, in the sense that if you don't remember your master password and you can't recover it, good luck, because you can't call LastPass and say, "Hey, here's the thing. I forgot my master password," or you, in your case, LastPass doesn't recognize my master password. Let me in. They're going to be like, I don't know what to tell you. You got to
We don't
start
know
over.
this.
We don't. They do not know your password, and that's for a good thing, because if they know it, that means a hacker or a data breach.
Somebody else could get
Somebody else could possibly get it. So that's another reason. I mean, it's on your case. It's not good because you got to start all over. But you have that silver lining in the sense that well, if LastPass ain't got my account, and I don't have access to
then
my
nobody
account,
got it.
then nobody's got it, right? So sleep.
And yeah,
Yeah, so sleep well knowing that. So all that to say, definitely, use a password manager. No saving stuff in Excel. No saving stuff in a note on your desktop called passwords. I've seen that before.
yeah, yeah. And it's also, I have to say, especially for any Mac users, put it in both places. Put it in the keychain
Right.
and put it in your password manager just so you can have that backup. And I will also say there's a feature specifically in LastPass you can export, the file encrypted.
Mm-hmm.
Export it, because had I had that export, I could just
Import
import
it
it back
back.
in
Right.
and went on about my merry way rather than having to go through this exercise. But
Right.
I'm happy that I am, because now I'm able to reset, all the passwords. So I still have, like I said, I still have some outstanding. The ones that I have outstanding aren't like anything that has any like financial information in it,
Mm-hmm.
which is good. And I'm at the point now where if I don't get to those right now, the next time I log in, I'll know to like update, everything. But I did like the primary ones, the ones that are, that are critical. So
Yeah, yeah. Yep. So definitely, we recommend it. We'll definitely put a link in the show notes to download LastPass. So, all right. So moving on to the last uh, story in the second string. Google is shutting down yet another service. Google Play Music is shutting down in September. For those who don't know, Google Play Music was Google's answer to Apple Music, or iTunes, I guess. And they've decided to actually shut down Google Play Music. So if you are on Google Play Music, if you're an Android, I don't even know if your iPhone, do you have access to Google Play Music? Yeah, I think there is an app. for Google Play Music. So definitely check that out. If you do have to if you do have Google Play Music and you need to figure out, well, what do I use? YouTube Music. That is Google's replacement for Google Play Music. They actually have created a Google Transfer tool to actually let you transfer all your purchased songs, purchased videos, movies, things of that nature, move that all over to YouTube Music, which you'll now have to pay for because it ain't Google. YouTube Music is not free. YouTube Music is more on par with Apple Music, more on par with Spotify, more on par with Tidal than Google Play. Google Play Music was kind of more iTunes-y, to where, they've kind of updated it with YouTube Music. So, all the features that you're used to in Apple Music and some of the other ones, you're going to have to pay for that now with YouTube Music. So I just want to put that out there. Google is yet shutting down another service just out of the blue and say, hey, you can't use this anymore.
Right.
Yep.
Sorry, can't use it.
Yep. So that is it for Second String. We're going to move into For the Culture, and I actually moved one of these stories around because one of them I had it in Second String, but I want to put it in For the Culture. Jay-Z invests in Wyze smart home tech. For those who don't know, and I actually already have a couple of their devices. Wyze is like a startup, but for smart home tech. So you think of smart home cameras, you think of smart home door locks, you think of smart home sensors, to where if you open and shut a door, open and shut a window, you can all manage that throughout the Wyze app, to where you can do smart home tech that way. Integrated with Alexa, integrated with some of the other smart home, smart home assistants. You can integrate those. So Jay-Z he has a VC firm, which I did not know that. Now I do.
I knew that.
He has a VC
it's
firm.
Marcy something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Marcy Ventures or something.
That makes perfect sense. He has invested in the startup Wyze, which plans to actually launch a thermostat and a video doorbell. So again, the reason why I'm interested is for two reasons. Why? Because buy black, and now since Jay-Z is a invested partner, I'm definitely going to look forward to investing more of my money into smart home technology that is, at the very least, if not owned, run, backed by black-owned business. And I already use their products. I already have a couple of their cameras. I was already trying to figure out how to consolidate all of this smart home tech into one dashboard, one product. I've got Alexa, and I've got HomeKit, and I've got August, and I've got Wyze, and I've got all these other things. And if Wyze is going to use this infusion of cash from investors like Jay-Z to expand their product base, because they're also planning on creating, like I said, a smart thermostat and a doorbell, I may start switching my stuff over. Because like I said, I've got all these different brands, all these different apps, and my whole point was to put it in one. And if Wyze is going to do it, and they are backed by some a black-owned business, specifically Jay-Z, who I am a fan of, that adds to the extra influence to actually go out and do it. So yeah, like I said, I didn't know that he had it's Marcy Venture Partners, which is co-founded by Jay-Z, Larry Marcus, and Jay Brown. So they have actually, prior investments include companies like HipCamp, Hungry, Wheels, and Versed. I haven't heard of any of those, but like I said, the first one I've heard of that I actually use is Wyze. So shout out to Jay-Z and them for doing that.
Yep. Cool.
All right. So the next For the Culture one, I don't know if you're familiar, Talib Kweli. He is permanently suspended from Twitter over cyberbullying accusations. So basically, the rundown, what happened for him to get permanently, it says, well, let me make sure. How do you permanently suspend somebody? Either you suspend them or you permanently ban them, right? So suspension is kind of like, I can come back. But if you permanently suspend, I'm assuming that's permanently banned. So anyway, for semantics,
he ain't on there no more.
Right? Semantics aside, he's off of Twitter, and the reason why he's off of Twitter was a user made a comment as it relates to the way it started.
A bunch of people.
Right. The way it started was
Okay, go ahead.
somebody put up a post that said listed a list of celebrities, athletes, entertainers who are married to black women. Right. Because again, the stereotypical joke is once athletes, entertainers, celebrities, black ones, black men, once they make it, they tend to marry
Leave a
outside
thing
of.
for a white girl.
Right. Yeah. They end up marrying outside the race. So somebody, I guess, in contrary to that, put up this list of black men who are athletes, entertainers, Talib Kweli included, married to black women. And then somebody put in response to that and said, if you look at all those names, all those dudes are married to lighter skinned black women. So, maybe insinuating that they have colorism issues.
Yep.
The whole subject itself is very colorist. The fact that you can't give these black women it, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think she kind of put it in there to kind of make fun of the fact that, okay, well, they're not married to dark skinned women. They have some colorist issues. So all of them married to light skinned black women, as in kind of like minimizing the fact that these light skinned women are in fact black women in general. But anyway, so that tweet went out, and then I guess Talib Kweli, which he is known for to take offense to anything anybody says about him, specifically on Twitter, and he went after this lady. I mean,
For weeks.
time and tweet and time and over again. I mean, arguing
Finding
back
her
and forth.
family address and seeking his people on her. They were trying to find the girl, trying to find a family.
They
posting
put
their address,
posting
where
where they work, how much money they make, and she put this long post up about all the things that they've done, death threats, like you mentioned, found all her addresses, put all her personal business out there. So finally, Twitter gets involved and says, "Yeah, we're going to permanently ban you." So then he puts out a tweet saying, he's moved on to Patreon, and this is how you're going to get, whatever the case may be. So he's permanently banned for Twitter, and I just wanted to get your opinion because it is an interesting. It's an interesting debate to have. It's did he? I won't say did he go too far, because yes, he went too far.
went too far.
But I think there's something more interesting in the sense that, number one, how she said it, what she said. She alluded to the fact that he had some issues with black women, and number two, a lot of celebrities are furiously, think of Jamel Hill, for example, one of the people I follow on Twitter. Anytime she says the sky is blue, somebody's jumping in and talking about her and talking about, because I think the thing is with social media is we're so much closer to celebrities to where if they say something, then if I respond, everybody's accessible, like you're saying, like exactly. I couldn't put it a better way. Everybody's accessible. So for her to shoot this comment at him and not expect him to defend himself, I think it was, what do you feel? I mean, how do you feel about the whole colorism thing, and how do you feel about artists and celebrities defending themselves on Twitter? Is there a line? Obviously there is a line, and obviously he crossed it because he's banned from Twitter. But how do you feel about celebrities defending themselves, and when do they cross the line between defense and cyberbullying?
Right. So, I saw this whole thing kind of happen in real time. And there was already a conversation going on that day in Black Twitter about colorism. It's like one of the things that's always going on in Black Twitter. And I think what she was doing was just calling out the fact of, saying that, yes, these people are married to Black women, and two things can be true at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They are married to Black women, but the Black community does have a lot of colorism in the community.
Right.
It's one of those things that's very prevalent. It's very harmful and hurtful to people, particularly browner and dark skinned women.
Mm-hmm.
It's deeply hurtful, and it's deeply, impactful to them in their daily lives. And I think for her, what she was trying to do was say, yeah, it's great they're married to Black women, but let's also take a moment to take a look at the fact that this seems colorist as well. So I think that's, to me, based on what I was reading and what was happening, that's where I thought she was coming from. I don't think she was coming from it as, well, you did this one thing right, but you did this thing wrong. To me, it didn't come across that way. Where it went too far is, of all the stuff he was going hard, don't talk about my wife, don't talk about this, don't talk about that, sicking his followers on her, and all that went into it. And I mean, this wasn't for a day or 2 days. This happened for a few weeks, constantly bombarding this girl, well, this young lady and her family, and putting them in danger, because these stands, some of them are crazy,
right?
And some of them will take this as a directive and go and do something. But the thing that I want to say about all that, he's invoking his wife, leave my wife out of this, blah, blah, blah. He is separated from his wife. They don't even live in the same state. She's like, I don't have nothing to do with him because I think he cheated on her or got somebody else pregnant. And so they aren't even together. So the whole basis of his, quote unquote, defending himself is going out, defending himself based on fiction. Because he's trying to say that he's taking up for himself, he's taking up for his wife, but you've treated your wife like trash.
Allegedly.
You've done all, allegedly.
Right.
But based on what she said.
Right.
But using allegedly for legal purposes, because we see the kind of guy that he is.
Right.
But I'm just saying, it's one of those things where you can take it too far. And he did take it too far. You can have, disagreements. You can, fight with people on Twitter without trying to cause them physical harm and cause direct issue to their mental health and to people they're related to. Her aunt, her mom, they didn't have anything to do with this.
Right.
So why bring them in? If you have an issue with this woman and what she said and what you perceived as a slight against you, you take it up with her. If you want to go have, the conversation back and forth on Twitter, then do that. But there is no reason for you to have this type of conversation and engage other people to constantly harass her and then take it from one platform over to another platform. Right. They started harassing her on Instagram. So I just think he just went too far.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And his apology is like, well, no, you didn't choose to leave Twitter. You were kicked off Twitter.
Right.
and if you do want to get your music or whatever you're doing out to your fans or your followers, put it on Patreon.
Right.
Let them go there and pay for it if that is the case. But there is no reason for him to go after this black woman. He's in one sense, he's defending, his love and appreciation for black women. And on the flip side, he's harassing
a black woman. Right.
It makes no sense, the way that he's going about this. And it's completely unnecessary. And it's completely with, I'm looking at one of the quotes, and she said that she's been threatened with human trafficking. Like, bro, you are threatening to human traffic and presumably, force her into sexual slavery because she said, not even calling you out specifically. It's a whole list of people.
Right.
It's a whole list of people that are in the list from someone else's tweet. And she just responded to someone else's tweet. And her comment was literally, almost all of them are married to light-skinned women, but that's a conversation for another day. Right. That was her whole response. That was the whole trigger for him to go and to launch this, cyberbullying attack on this black woman.
Right.
So he went too far, was completely unnecessary, and I'm glad that he can no longer harass this black woman, because apparently he has a history of harassing black women on social media.
Well, I think he covers all bases because I followed Talib Kweli for a long time. I'm a fan, right? But every tweet I see of him, he's in an argument with somebody. So I'm not going to put it on him to say he specifically attacks black women on the regular, because he specifically attacks everybody on the regular. He's always back and forth with somebody on Twitter. And it's just like constantly, you see like Rihanna, or you see some of these other celebrities, they'll throw their one jab back
They'll
at
clap back and
somebody,
keep moving.
and then they'll keep it moving. Talib Kweli, he goes in and goes in. And so I'm not surprised, and I don't think that he has a specific issue. He may have a specific issue with her, but I don't think he has a specific issue for her because she's a black woman. I don't even think he has an issue with her in the sense that what she highlighted to, that he has some sort of colorism issue. I just think that's who he is.
He's supposed to argue.
He just is defensive and argumentative, because I followed him over years. It's like I can't even, it's like, put out some music. I can't watch the tweets anymore because he is always back and forth with somebody, so he did definitely take it too far with her specifically, and he should have, like you mentioned, allegedly, in the sense that I didn't read anywhere where he specifically targeted her, but he should have said, yo, when all the stands, like you mentioned, when everybody started digging into her live and pull all this information out and started threatening her, he should have been like, yo, that's not what this is about. I have some issues with what he said. I have some issues with what she said. I want to be able to use Twitter as a platform to hash those things out with her specifically, whether she replies back or not, but chill with all the extra stuff. Now, if he was really wanted to have that dialogue, then he should have been able to pick a better way to do it. And this wasn't a better way. And when all the other people went extra, he didn't back them off. He antagonized it a little bit, but he didn't pull them back when they went too far. So again, that's crossing the line, and that's what you get, because he's been a habitual line stepper as it relates to just attacking people specifically on Twitter. So you in the doghouse now. So hopefully this Patreon thing work out for you, bro.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I've never followed him on Twitter. And when all this kind of came up, I was like, oh, this is what it is. But like you said, if this is his standard MO, then he definitely doesn't need to be on a social network like Twitter.
He is always arguing with somebody.
Because if you think about it, even non-celebrities, I'm sure people have tried to come at you on Twitter. I know people have tried to come at me on Twitter about things that you post, the things that you say.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not to this level or nowhere near it. But that's the social discourse that we're in now.
Right.
People have that accessibility to everybody, whether you're a celebrity, whether you're a non-celebrity, whether you're a politician, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And everybody has that right if your account is public or they've followed you or allowed you to follow them, and you don't have your tweets protected or your comments turned off or whatever the case may be. That's a part of the social discourse for social media. That's why they call it social media. So you expect some level of interaction and conversation and even disagreements, because disagreements are normal, and to me disagreements are healthy. But when you take it to this level, that's not healthy.
Right.
And that's not what the platform is meant for. So I'm glad Twitter did that. And I think what I read earlier, they did the same thing to the president too. They didn't permanently ban him, but they stopped his tweets until he took off some misinformation that he had posted about coronavirus.
Right.
So I think they're taking it serious now.
Right. Trump specifically, he alluded to the fact that kids are just about immune from the coronavirus, which is the opposite. The exact opposite of what, not only the truth, what's really happening. We got kids who are dying. Right.
Every day that these kids, they're back at school and they're all getting coronavirus.
Right. So, as a celebrity, you do have the right to defend yourself. I don't put it past any celebrity just to have it up to here with all the people running their mouths on Twitter about something that they have no business about. But you can take it too far, and it looks like social media with Talib Kweli, with the president, you're starting to see the repercussions. You just can't put anything out there because it's starting to come back on you. So lesson learned from, like I said, from Talib specifically, and then the president or anybody. If you're gonna argue over Facebook, or Twitter or social media in general, it's okay to have those arguments, but if you take it too far, you will get thrown in jail or permanently suspended. I don't know what that is about. Anyway,
in other words, you ain't on here, bro.
Right. All right. So moving along, I did not watch it yet, but I'm pretty sure you have some thoughts as our resident Beehive. Is it Beehive? Beehive?
No, it's B. Please
Beehive.
don't say babe.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
hey, look, I don't know, so I'm asking
Yes.
for clarification. Beehive.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So give us your review or ideas or thoughts on "I Am King." Her, what do you call this? A
Visual album.
visual album. Give us a breakdown.
So you're going to be surprised about this. I have not watched it.
What?
I've seen different snippets and videos, but again, social media,
Right.
they ruin everything. I mean, they
Yeah.
ruin absolute everything. And I was like, you know what? I am going to watch this once all the Twitter wokes
And the hype dies
once
down.
all of the think pieces, once they are done and out of the way, then I'll go and watch it and enjoy it for the beauty that it is. Because the clips that I did see and the videos that I did see were absolutely stunning. They were beautifully done, and it looks fantastic from what I've seen. But people will ruin anything. Twitter will ruin anything. Facebook will ruin anything. Instagram will ruin anything. And that's what they did for me with this visual album. I was like, I'm gonna take a pass on it for now. I have Disney Plus, so I can watch it anytime.
Right.
And I will. But right now, it's just horrible. It's
Right.
just social media is just horrible on this. And I was talking to a couple of my friends this weekend because I Am King is based on Lion King, which is set on the continent of Africa.
Right.
The motherland. And they were saying that some of their African born friends or immigrated friends, they hate it.
They do.
And they hate it. It's just like she's capitalizing off of our culture,
Appropriating.
she's co-opting and appropriating all those things. And I'm just like, and they were like, well, as an American, I don't see anything wrong with it. You can have your opinion, but they were just confused. And I was confused as well, because my thing is, she filmed this. First, she did The Lion King.
Okay.
Then she did the album, which is basically the soundtrack to the movie. And she used, African artists, rappers, singers on the album. And on the visual album, she filmed it in parts of Africa, in different countries in Africa. Her wardrobe, some of it was from African designers. The makeup, the jewelry, the people behind the camera, the people in front of the camera. These are all Black and or African people. So I don't understand, what the big hubbub is. I know what it is. It's Beyonce, so they have to say, to me,
that and
something wrong.
Right, with that and so to that point, and I'll kind of get to the not the response, but I could see the standpoint, right? So to your point, okay, so we got Africans who are mad at Beyonce because of this album. You got the Christians who are mad at Beyonce because it's this whole not demonic and it's not Christian, and some of the headdresses and some of the dances are not rooted in Christianity. And then you have of course the white folks who are mad at Beyonce, but how dare her king? And we got the whole black supremacy that Terry Crews was talking about. So
white man being a butler,
right, and the white man being a butler in the background, right.
Is that racist too?
Right. So having said that, if everybody's mad at you, then is anybody mad at you, right? Because at least you are offending everybody on the same plane, right? So are you really offending anybody if everybody's offended? That's number one. And number two, going back to the Africans being upset, I think I can see how, as being a fan, if I was a fan of Beyonce like that, I could see I say, okay, well, she's went out of her way to make sure Africans as well as African Americans were represented in every aspect of the piece. But if, let's just say, I don't know, think of a popular white female artist on same popularity as Beyonce. What's the lady's name? Not Taylor Swift. Let's just use her for example. I can't think of the lady I'm thinking of, but
Taylor Swift ain't Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga, right? Let's just say Lady Gaga went out and above, beyond her way, to create a ode or a celebration of hip hop. And she had all these black actors and she had all these black directors, and she made sure she used the vernacular and make sure all this, she did all this and went out of the way and decided to put this ode to hip hop. She loved hip hop so much. So she did this whole thing, right? If African Americans, black people were like, hey, yeah, we like that, but you're appropriating this and that and this and that, I guess it's like, can Beyonce say, I don't see the problem representing or misrepresenting a culture when the culture themselves say, hey, we have some questions about this? I mean, can the oppressor tell the oppressed what they can and can't be upset about, right? Yeah. So right. I guess that kind of my question to ask to you.
So my thing is, I don't think that's necessarily apples to apples because Lady Gaga isn't a hip hop artist.
Right.
So maybe if you said, I don't know what Lady Gaga's background is, but say Lady Gaga is Irish.
Right.
And she wants to show her appreciation to Ireland.
Right.
And she goes to Ireland and she films, in different parts of the country. She has different Irish dancers and right. makeup and outfits and all those kinds of things. And then if the Irish people say, yes, you're a part of our community, you are Irish, but still you're not from
the motherland,
the country of Ireland.
Right.
You're not from you don't originate from here, you don't live here.
Right.
Then that's a problem. That's more, I think, kind of in line of more, I guess, apples to apples comparison. But my thing is, even if it was Lady Gaga and Irish, I guess I'm coming from a place that's a little bit different because I am American,
right.
but I'm also first black.
Right.
And so my ancestry is in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is the fact that I don't know what country, what tribe I'm from
mm-hmm.
in Africa because my people were stolen and brought to a different land.
Right.
My thing is I can see where you're saying that this quote unquote outsider is highlighting and showing the best of your country. To me, I just don't understand it. And maybe that's why I don't, is because I don't have a physical, tangible connection to the continent, other than knowing the fact that
somewhere down the line
from there,
right,
somewhere, my people are there,
right.
So it's one of those things where I guess, I guess I don't really have the authority to speak on it because right. I'm not from there. But from my side, I just saw a beautiful
right.
ode
right.
to motherland, showing it in the best possible light.
Right.
I could see if she was like over there and just like she goes to the poorest part,
right.
she gets the most ravaged places and she's dancing with her $1 million dresses and all of her cars and makeup and mm-hmm. shoes and things in an area that is ravaged and is suffering, and then brings in people that aren't from that area
right.
to be in it.
Right.
If she's just got all Black American actors and performers and people and said, okay, so we're going to go over here and co-opt and show the worst part of this particular area,
mm-hmm.
and we're going to be all dolled up and we're going to, say, see, we came and we made it better, then yeah, I would have a problem with that.
Right.
But from what I saw, that's not what she did.
Right.
So that's why I guess for me, I don't understand it. And I know that Lovey wrote an amazing piece on it. She did a piece first talking about how great it was, how much she loved it. And we all know Lovey Ajayi, I'm Judging You, and she has, books and TV, and
mm-hmm.
she's kind of all over the place talking to different organizations. And she's an immigrant from Nigeria. She's
mm-hmm.
from Nigeria. I think she moved here when she was a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
So she was born and raised there. And then she came here and, she thought it was great. And let's be clear, not all Africans
right.
have negative things to say. but there's a loud enough chorus that, does have a problem with it. And so it's just one of those things where
Can't please
I don't
everybody.
see, you can't please everybody, and it's Beyonce, so it's already controversial.
Right.
But from what I saw, I just saw a beautiful ode to the continent.
Well, so you make a good point. So I think the onus would be on us. Well, I guess Beyonce put the onus on her to go through the trouble and go through the effort to make sure Africans are represented, well represented, in a positive light in this piece, right? So maybe for
Hmm.
us, who we need to put more onus on ourselves and say, hey, okay, so we me specifically, I don't understand what the big fuss is about, hypothetically speaking.
Hmm.
The onus is on me to do the research. The onus is on me to
Yeah.
trace my history and trace my roots and trace my ancestry. The onus on me is to visit the continent. The onus is on me to, befriend or, learn from Africans about their history, current or first generations like Lovey, for example.
Hmm.
Go to make it a take it upon myself to learn more. So when things like this come up, I have a better outset, right? So,
Hmm.
to your point, it's like, well, if to me, since I don't have that knowledge, since I don't have the understanding, since I don't have that familiarity, if Africans are saying they have an issue with certain aspects or whatever the case may be, I'm not comfortable, like you said, just being able to say, "Oh, y'all just making a big deal about nothing," because I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think it is take it upon ourselves, as I think every black in America should take it upon themselves to learn more about the history and the continent and the current and the past, and trace your roots and do the pilgrimage and do all that stuff. So when things like major events happen, we have that closer connection versus everybody back and forth on Facebook, either upset or not, right? So then that, and it's Beyonce, like you said, there's nothing she's going to be able to do for the rest of her life to where everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, that was nice,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
oh, we
Yeah.
all hate it.
Exactly. And apparently she spent like a year researching it. So the symbolism and the story that she told, because it's essentially Lion King reimagined with people
Right,
from the continent.
right.
So it was like a young Simba and all those kind of things. So essentially the storytelling that she told was rooted and based in the lore and the history of the continent. So I think she did her research.
You don't know because you ain't saw it yet.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's the part that I did see
I'll
of
just
the
I'll
story
just pull
is
your
that
chain.
that's what it was. But yeah, so it's exhausting. And like I said, I'll watch it when all of these people just kind of, when the next Twitter thing, pops up,
Right.
I'll go and watch it and enjoy it and appreciate it without all of the controversy around it. So
Yeah, well, I'm not a huge Beyonce fan, so I'll let y'all do your thing. So I just wanted to bring that up though, because again, that was a lot. Everybody was equally upset.
yeah, and that's the thing. Everybody, she was able to quote unquote offend basically
Everybody.
everybody.
So again, if you make everybody upset, is anybody really upset? Or you're doing your job if everybody's talking about it, right? All right, so moving on, I think that's it for the culture. We're gonna move into the hookup. We talked earlier about iOS or macOS public beta is out. iOS 14 public beta has been out for a couple weeks. I have iOS 14 public beta on my iPhone. It is my daily driver. If you're going to install iOS 14 or macOS Big Sur public beta on your devices, you definitely want to make sure you have a backup. And this is important, not just an iCloud backup. You have to encrypt/archive your backup to your Mac, specifically if you're going to install iOS 14, if you're going to install macOS Big Sur public beta, you need to encrypt and back that up to an external hard drive or to another computer or a server. You can't just make an iCloud backup of your computer and of your iPhone, and if you run into bugs with the public beta that bricks your phone or makes certain features and aspects of it inoperable, because the whole point of a beta is to get people to test things. So that means things are not necessarily going to be working as they are when it's actually released. So you can't download any of these developer betas or these public betas and expect things to work and not have recourse if they don't. So this is your recourse. If things don't work, you be able to back up to a previous version of iOS, not just restore your data, because once you get iOS 14 or macOS Big Sur on your device and something goes wrong, you can't just restore your data. You have to downgrade to a previous version of the iOS, and it's not just as simple as doing a restore. So you have to actually make an encrypted, archived backup. So I'm just going to go through the steps real quick on how to do that via iOS 14. So basically what you have to do is, if you have a Mac, you have to plug it up to your computer. If you have a PC, plug it up to your computer. With Mac, you can use the Finder window. So you open Finder and find your iPhone in the sidebar. In PC, you have to open up iTunes and locate your device. You have to disable the iCloud backup. Again, iCloud, all that does is backs up your data. It does not back up your operating system. So you need to disable iCloud backup on your Mac and PC. And then you have to select back up all the data on your iPhone to this Mac or to this computer. Once you select that, you have to select encrypt local backup. That means you have to put a password on the actual backup and then create a password specifically for the backup. And then when you do a backup now, it'll go through the process, it'll back it up. And how you can prove that your backup has been encrypted is if you go back into the list of your current recently backed up devices, it'll have a padlock on the name and the date of the previous backup. That in and of itself will tell you that you have an encrypted, archived backup of your iOS device. Then if you can go through the process of downloading or signing up for the public beta for your iPhone or your Mac. And then if something goes wrong, you can actually downgrade to iOS 13. Again, like I said, the whole point is to make an archived and encrypted backup versus just backing up your data to the cloud. So again, if you didn't hear anything I just said or crossed your eyes or it was too techy, if you're going to upgrade to the iOS public beta, you have to physically manually back up your iPhone to your computer. Don't try to back it up to the cloud, because that won't work. So that is my tip. And the reason why I wanted to put it out there, because iOS 14 specifically is pretty good. I haven't had any issues. Like I mentioned before, everything's going smooth. So that's probably enticing for people to back up or upgrade to the public beta. But just make sure, just for argument's sake, just trust me and just make an archived encrypted backup, because I'd hate for something to happen and then you got to wait because your phone is a brick, right? So, all right. So that is my hookup for the week. If you don't have any hookups or anything like that or any tips, I think we are done for this week of this actually pretty good looking video version of our podcast. Definitely download, rate, and review us. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, and we're on Spotify. Definitely engage with us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're at snobOS Cast. You can watch us on YouTube now at snobOS, and I think you can actually see us on YouTube at snobOS Cast for YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and definitely hit the notifications button on YouTube so you can be alerted when we actually go live video. You can definitely leave comments and suggestions. We're on the web at snoboscast.com, or you can also shoot us an email. We're at snobos@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to show some support for the show, we are on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/snoboscast for as little as $5, you'll get actual access to our pre-show taping. You'll get access to the actual live show taping, so you'll be able to watch it as we record it, and you'll get access to our Discord live chat where you can talk about all things tech, all things whatever, get at ideas, talk about things you want to see on the show, so on and so forth. Other than that, we are done for this week. Peace.
Bye.